Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix preview show. As always, you can see we've got, I've automatically gone the right way this time. We got Wajid alongside me. How are you, Wajid?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. First up, apologies for the content has not been as much as we said it was going to be. Few issues. As many of you know, I have my anxiety issues, which are progressing, and Wajid actually fell ill for a week. So
Yeah,
we're
I was.
both to blame.
Yeah, I was. I was told. I was totally out of it. Just I wasn't. I wasn't leaving my bed at all.
Yeah, it literally got to a stage, I think, at one point where I said, "What was it? The second day? Oh, you're better now. What was it? Wednesday?" And then you went,
Yeah.
"No,
No,
no chance."
no.
Um,
I looked at your message and it was one of those where I was just like, I really need to reply, but I really can't be asked replying. But I
yeah,
really need to
yeah.
reply.
Let's just change the. So I just realised something. So we'll cut this bit out. Just realised the stream. We are here on Twitch at this moment in time. I just realised we're under iRacing, so I just need to change that now because somebody won't be very happy if we're under iRacing. Um, I know it's not even come up with a category now. That's nice. There we go. So this is the Baku preview, and we will be going through many different things like the new sprint format that is coming in. We've got the history of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. A little shorter than most. You know, when we get to Silverstone, we might need a whole week of filming to go through the history of that. But Azerbaijan, we just got the five races. And
We will be going through the new sprint format, which is essentially like two mini Grand Prix rolled into one long Grand Prix weekend. We'll be going over, as always, predictions, which, let's be honest, who doesn't want to watch that car? If Azerbaijan doesn't produce a car crash, our
our
prediction is
predictions will.
certainly good. Are certainly going to produce car crash. All the news and updates that we've missed over our own version of the spring break. Let's be perfectly honest, and yeah, that's about it really. And then onto the and then a preview of the review show that'll be coming on Monday.
There we go. Maybe I should just leave Wajid to it. Um, for those who are on YouTube and have missed a little bit of cut out, we had an alert come on and it completely threw me. So, um, yeah, Wajid will now host the show for forevermore. Um, so first up, we'll go through the news that we've had. Literally, I think it came in this morning that the FAA are following a due process um, against sexism allegations towards Mohammed bin Salam. Um, Wajid, we know that Mohammed hasn't got the best of records in general things, and I don't want to put this across the wrong way, but when you have somebody who wants, let's put, I'm trying to think of the most diplomatic way of putting
Be
it.
as polite, be
Yeah,
as polite, non-polite as possible.
Formula One is generally a Western sport, and it has been for a long time. Now you're bringing in other countries, that's fine, not a problem, no issue with that. Bringing in somebody who has been in the sport but has grown up in sort of, I believe, did he grow up in Dubai?
I
It was,
think I thought he was Saudi Arabian.
or Saudi.
I
He's
could be wrong. I could be
yeah,
wrong. I did
he's
think
come into us.
it was Dubai. Sorry, it was
It,
Dubai. You're
it
correct.
was Dubai, yeah. Okay. So he's grown up and in countries where shall we put it this way that the Western world are slightly different in the way they treat people and things like that is probably the most polite way of putting it. Are we surprised that something like this may come up? Because yes, it's things have changed in 2023. Of course they have, and I'm not saying they haven't in those countries as well. But when you grow up in that culture, could it really just disappear from your own personality?
Okay, I the thing about that is I think that I think that's giving him a pass because there's
Yeah.
many people that have grown up in an Eastern culture. I mean, myself included.
Yeah.
Regardless if I've lived in this country, I'm still of, in
Yeah.
Indo Pakistani slash Arab origin. That's the culture I've raised in, brought up in, even if I've lived in a Western society. So
Yeah.
I think that's a very, very, I think that's a cop out, and I
It,
don't want
it's
to.
it's it's kind of. I mean, I'm saying it from obviously my point of view, where I'm just trying
I
to lay the
totally
foundations of
no
it,
no.
but
I
I can
totally appreciate.
understand where you're coming from in terms of the, um, you know, there's plenty of people from those countries who have come along and they can treat people in certain
And
ways, and
the only the thing I want to add on to that as well, which I totally appreciate where you're coming from, is he's he he's from a very wealthy Emirati background, and especially in the Emirates, if you're from a wealthy background, generally you get an American or a British education anyway. So
true, true,
and from his bio, he studied his undergrad, I believe. I don't know how the American collegiate system works, but he studied his undergrad in the United States. So you're still talking, yes,
yeah,
his early years, his formative years might have been in the Emirates, but for the best part of 40 years, he's lived and not appreciated, but lived and soaked in a sort of a Western view, if that's how you want to put it.
yeah,
Personally, I believe that's a cop out. I believe that's a cop out answer. I believe it's giving him a bypass. Sorry, not bypass. I believe it's giving him a pass, and I just think he's a total asshole. Straight up, I did.
yeah. No, I mean,
If
just just
if
to put some
vi-
background on it very
sorry,
quickly.
I'm
Go on.
sorry. Yeah, just so there are allegations. He's innocent till proven guilty. I want to put that categorically out there,
Yeah,
but I'm not saying he has done what I'm not saying he has done it or anything like that. He is innocent till proven guilty. I'm just giving sort of a background. I'm just answering. I'm just
yeah.
sort of giving my comment onto what you said. I want to
Well,
categorically put that out there.
that's the lucky thing we have now. Well, on this podcast, we're going through into different countries in terms of, we've gone to Abu Dhabi, we've gone to Saudi Arabia, we've gone to India recently, we've gone to Korea recently, things like that, where the cultures are very different to what Formula One are kind of used to, shall we say, and having yourself who has a bit more understanding of them sort of backgrounds than I do is always quite useful. Just to put some meat on the bones, basically, Shala and Rao, I think that's how you say it. Apologies if it's not. The FIA's former intern secretary general for motorsport wrote a letter accusing Salam of sexist behaviour before her departure in December. Now, firstly, this is a person who was accused of basically backing up her former team, wasn't it? If I remember the name correctly.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so it's quite ironic that everybody said, oh, she's left because of that. Has she left because of this? Is this actually the truthful case of why she decided to leave the FIA?
The problem with the FIA is, as we have discussed in the previous show, and as we'll probably discuss 50 million times between now and the end of the year, there's so much murky water, and no one actually knows what goes on in the FIA, or who gets what job, and how and what team they were linked to previously. Um, you could the, you could draw a conclusion that it could be like four or five different things as to why this lady's left, unfortunately.
Yeah. Just to also clear up that Salam has employed two ladies to the first chief executive officer and to its first equality, diversity, and inclusion advisor into it. So it's we're not saying that he's literally gone into the FAA and he's kicked out all the females or anything like that. He has employed some as well. So it could be anything, and as Wajid says, it's something that's going to cloud over top of him. He's had a bit of a clouded reign, really, at the FAA. I mean, he doesn't even didn't he pass on the lead of Formula One as well?
Yeah,
Um,
because of his comments to because of his comments to Liberty Media about
yeah,
F1 not being the value they said it was.
yeah. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Because if it's true and he has to go, then we're looking at another FIA president to be brought in. Previously was Jean Todt. Didn't think he did a too bad a job, to be fair. Never does in these kind of positions. But who would stand up next? I'm not really sure. Other news we've had over the last few times, there's been a deadline approaching for the 2025 applications for new teams. We've heard there is a few on the table, including Andretti Cadillac. Let me just have a quick look here. I'm just trying to remember. Oh, yes, there was also an interesting one, which Calvin Lowe, who's a Hong Kong-based business billionaire, has been talked about being included with a team of sorts, but no news on that. That came out Singapore Grand Prix time. Andretti bid with Cadillac, we know about quite a bit. But other quiet ones that happened were High Tech, who are currently in Formula 2. With last season they had Yuri Vips. They brought through Nikita Mazepin before that. You know, take what you will of the drivers, but they have put drivers into Formula One cars, and they've been very successful previously in British F3 with a driver called Marco Asmir. So a very competent team, I think, run by Ollie Oakes, a former go-karter who was very successful. So that'll be an interesting one. Kind of bit like Manor, really. Yeah, it's quite similar to Manor. And then the final one was, I didn't think I'd ever say this name in terms of team principal again, but Craig Pollock, the former BAR owner, so the guy who who formed BAR really, is fronting a proposal named Formula Equal that will see a team of 50% male and 50% female involvement to join the grid. Now, that's not saying that it'll be a male and a female driver, but it will be inside the team, it'll be male and female 50%. Out of all them three, can you actually see any of them getting onto a grid, Wajid?
Nope. Strap. No. Maybe.
Because of the other teams, I'm
Yeah.
presuming.
Maybe I'll push the Andretti one if the partnership with Cadillac is strong. The other ones, no chance.
Yeah, for me, the Craig Pollock one, High Tech, I think got a chance, but it's because of Manor. Maybe they won't. They might have to team up with somebody. Andretti one, best chance. The Craig Pollock one, no chance at all, because I know the sexism row. Obviously, we just spoke about it with the FIA, and we need to push these women, women forward into the sport and stuff. But when you reach the very top, surely it should be whoever's best at the job should be in there. So if a woman becomes best of a job, like Bernie Collins, she made it through, and she was head strategist at Aston Martin for quite a while. So that generally seems to be the thing. Formula Academy. Is it Formula One Academy they call it? Obviously.
The F1, the F1 Academy.
Yeah, while we're on the subject of the F1 Academy, not running on the, ironically, not running on the F1 weekend. They're running down at Austria this weekend, around the Red Bull ring. Sorry, Red Bull. The F1 Academy. So go on.
This is the replacement for the W Series, isn't it? Which couldn't get the financial.
Well, it was meant to run alongside W Series, and obviously W Series just failed basically. But I think the general problem I find with it is one, why is this grid not considering they're featuring 5 teams, they've got ART, Campos, Carlin, MP Motorsport, and Prema. So teams that are already there for Formula 2 and Formula 3. Why is this not on the F1 grid until next year? It makes no sense whatsoever. And also, why are the races not on TV? They're not even, I don't even think they're being streamed.
Um, because from all intents and purposes, from what it sounds like, it was a last minute idea coaxed up because of how badly the W Series crashed and burned. So they've needed a very quick replacement, which is what they've got through the F1 Academy. At the end of the day, I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I didn't watch any of the W Series. Um, the only thing I ever know of the W Series was Jamie Chadwick was always 45 seconds up the road from everyone else.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's see. Unfortunately, aside from Jamie Chadwick, in terms of I know what the series is trying to do, um, aside from Jamie Chadwick, who still doesn't seem to be at the top where an F1 seat is anywhere close to her. None of these women are on par with the current crop of drivers, even in F2 at the moment, and that's the issue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just having a quick look at the academy lineup, and all apart from two are under 23. Just two ART drivers who are 24 and 25. So keeping the age young, which is what's needed. But there's names here which, yeah, okay, we know them. You know, we think of Marsha Garcia, who was in W Series. We've got Abby Pullen, Jessica Edgar jumping up into the series from basically go karts. I can't remember what she did last year, but Megan Jilks. But apart from Abby Pullen and Marsha Garcia, or was it Marty? It was Marty as well. Those three are the only drivers who we really saw pushing the envelope in W Series and getting anywhere near Chadwick. And then Chloe Grant, who's coming in from, I think it's British F4, basically. Yeah, it's kind of a. Are we just seeing another series of people who can afford it? Really?
That's what it seems like, unfortunately. Um, Lewis has always said that the biggest problem with F1 is there's probably some very talented drivers, but they just can't afford it, and it just feels like another. Unfortunately, it just feels like a type of another money grab. Unfortunately, um,
I
whether any
mean,
of these
for
late,
me,
what
I think it's going to get dominated by Abby Pullen. You know, I think we're going to just see another W Series.
well, I mean, let's see. I'm putting you on the spot. Let's go with the name there that's you recognize, Abby Pullen. Is she currently good enough to be on an F1 grid?
She's not currently good enough to be on an F1 grid. Do I think she could be on an F1 grid? I mean, she's 20 years old now, so it's kind of like, are we? I know this sounds weird, but are we a year or two too late with this? But if she wins this, manages to get an F3 drive, obviously does well in F3, then you could be in Formula One by the time you're like 23, 24. It's not the end of the world. Um, for other drivers in this, they're 17, 18 already. So if they do well, obviously stepping up works really well. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I mean, it's a series which will show a lot of interest as the season goes on, and
It has to be on Sky for in this country anyway. It has to be on Sky Sport. It has to be on
yeah,
Sky Sports F1
I
for
don't
to
see why it's I don't believe it is actually going to be on in any kind of way from what I understand, but we
so
will see.
then this is the problem. This was the problem with the W Series. The W Series wasn't advertised well at all, unless you were a fairly, I don't want to say hardcore, but unless you were a
Yeah,
fairly strong race fan, you had no idea of the W Series. So again, it's not the greatest advertised thing in the world.
just to run through some other things which might make a difference in Baku, we've got James Allison returning to technical director at Mercedes. I think that's very much kind of you've had your chance, let's bring him back because it hasn't worked. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, so
Um,
Allison returns as, I believe, head technical director,
yeah,
and um, oh, who's the current? Is
Mike
it
Elliott.
Mike Elliott? Yeah, he goes back to chief technical officer.
Yeah, so it's just a bit of a reshuffle, but we've seen Mercedes do it before. 2016, they changed over pit crews and everything. So, and the only other sort of discussion was Michael Schumacher. He just doesn't keep out the headlines, even though we don't really know the whole truth and nothing but the truth there. But a German magazine ran an AI generated interview with Michael Schumacher and posted it. Yeah. Uh, no wonder the editor got sacked. I think we can't say much more to that, can you?
It's not the most. It's not. It's not the most cleverest thing in the world, is it? Let's be honest.
No, I mean, we've had newspapers in this country as well have their kind of things. So, yeah, it's a bit. Yeah, who
Just
knows? It's just, I mean, let's put it this way. I think if Mike, and obviously we don't know, but if Michael's all well and good, or living a life of sorts or whatever, then let's leave him to it. You know, he gave plenty to the sport after he'd finished anyway.
that's see. That's just. I think this is the problem, isn't it? Because he is a celebrity of his stature, people, and in Michael's case anyway, because no one actually knows what has happened or what he stays like since the
Yeah,
incident. People seem to there's this weird sense of entitlement when it comes to people's health, that because he's not out in the open, people should know, and it's not like that at all. People do deserve privacy, and I wish him all the I wish him his family all the best, and win whatever his health and stays. And do you know what? If that publisher gets taken to the cleaners, so be it.
I'm just gonna stay on that subject for a moment. I mean, we are obviously not going to speculate on Michael and whatever, but let's just how on earth, considering Mick has gone through so much publicity lately, and I know obviously press and people will be like briefed not to ask the questions and that, but how has nothing slipped out? What a watertight situation they've got there.
I mean,
You know,
it's
Mick has been
very
in the
impressive.
press.
It's very impressive.
His mum's been to Grand Prix. Jean Todd keeps saying he's been to see him. Ross Brawn. Ralph keeps coming out in the press. Ralph is still about. You know, he's talking to the press all the he's actually part of the press at times. You know, you got David Schumacher as well out there racing. It's so impressive how they've sort of kept it on the down low.
Yeah, it is. And you got, but that's all down to their circle. There's definitely a network and a circle they trust very, very much. And honestly, fair play. It's very rare in the social media era that, like you said, it's only a matter of time generally before something slips out. So for nothing to come out, um, massively, I don't want to say impressive, but I think I think a lot of people would like the sort of knowledge of how they managed to keep Michael's life so private
Yeah,
since the accident.
yeah.
Because
I mean,
even
go on.
sorry, because even when he was airlifted to hospital off the mountain, from that point, no one's actually known what his
No,
state was, what his health was, what his condition was. No one's known anything at all.
yeah. And you know, we've had reports off doctors and whatever, but I it was that image of Lewis at Donington Park this weekend, watching his brother Nick racing in the British Touring Cars, getting his best ever result. And well done, Nick. You know, it's remarkable what you've done there. And you just sort of kind of think, do you think there could have been a Grand Prix last year? where they've snuck Michael into a circuit and he's been able to watch his son
No,
race.
I
I
don't
mean,
think so.
obviously speculating on saying he's well at that stage.
I don't think so.
No, I'm sure it
I
would have
think
been
that
noticed.
yeah, I think there's that many cameras, that much media. I think unfortunately there's no chance. But just quickly before we go into
Yeah,
Baku, the other thing in the news is the growing rumor that Spa is not going to be on the
it'll be on
2025
it.
calendar. It'll be on it.
It'll be on it.
I don't
Spa
know.
and Silverstone have been rumoured not to be on the calendar since 1998, I think.
Dominicali's making a lot of noise.
Minicali's made a lot of noise since he was the boss at Ferrari. That got him absolutely zilch as well. So, no, I think you'll see. You know, they've put in far too much investment in Spa for him to just go, nah. You know, but it's always a last minute deal with Spa. It's a bit like Monaco. It's a bit like Silverstone. And I mean, a choice: Spa or India or South Korea or who knows where they pick. But yeah, I can't see him swapping it for Kyle Army or something like that. Let's put it that way. So
That's
personally,
true.
I think Spa's going to be on it.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think that'll be it. I think it'll be all right. So we're going to move on now. I'll just move forward out of a light there so that you've still got me actually visible. He has. It's just shining through, isn't it? Baku. Well done, Baku. You've managed to make it to the sixth Grand Prix. Obviously, it is the seventh or eighth year. Is it seventh year
Seventh
of
year.
the Grand Prix? Obviously, we missed one due to the COVID pandemic in 2020. The most awkward Grand Prix probably for people to get to, and they've stuck Miami on a week later. Cheers. Um,
They've stuck on yeah, and at a race circuit that no one wants to go to, but whatever.
yeah, the Miami one. Yeah, I thought you meant Baku. Then I was like,
No, no,
uh.
no. Miami's
Does it say something when Baku does a better job than Miami?
Miami's run. Miami. I've got Miami's run ready for Wednesday. Don't worry about it for next Wednesday.
Oh, we'll save that one for the preview show for Miami. So, Baku Street Circuit held a Grand Prix 5 times. First held in 2017. The most wins has gone to Red Bull, but 3 different drivers for that. Max Verstappen winning once, Perez winning once, and Daniel Ricciardo winning once. The circuit 3.7 miles long and features 51 laps with that long main straight, which, as always these days, has a DRS zone. You won't be surprised to hear. The Grand Prix always, well, I'm going to say it doesn't always create chaos. The first year that was it 2017, it wasn't the chaotic race. I mean, Daniel Ricciardo won it, yes, but it wasn't chaos like everybody expected. Then 2018 come along. We had the Bottas puncture on the last lap. Then Bottas won the year after. So it wasn't the last lap. It was near the end for Bottas, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Then we didn't hold one. Then we had
magic button.
Perez.
That was the magic button.
Yeah, that was the
The
magic,
2 lap
the
shootout.
2 lap sprint. Yeah, after Max Verstappen's tyre blew. And we also had Max dominating last year. I think it was still a bit chaotic last year as well. So, what do F1 decide to do? Sprint format.
Yeah.
Yeah, that face that Wajid just pulled was the exact face that every team principal with a budget to worry about pulled.
It just. This is why. This is why I've talked about the budget cap era before, and this is why I just said the budget cap era, when we have more races now than we've ever had, is total bullshit.
It is excuse me. It was absolute chaos in terms of an idea, but instead of that, we'll talk about the actual sprint format because we have been very used to sprint weekends recently. You know, they brought them in. We could probably say there's been one decent sprint race in the whole of time. But we're going to have a new format for this weekend to move it across to to a less basically put the sprint event as a standalone event, isn't it?
Yeah, so apologies. The reason I was giggling is because in our Twitch chat, there's a comment that says, "Yeah, but think of the DTS episode."
Yeah,
Someone else said it. I didn't, but you know,
I know you were thinking it,
that
but
was
yeah,
that
but
was
the
yeah,
sprint
but
format.
it's so it's so for those who are unsure of this weekend's format, the qualifying for Sunday, I believe, is on the Friday.
Go on.
Um,
I'll see if
uh,
I'll tell you if you're right. Let's see if you know it.
so the qualifying for Sunday is on the Friday. Is the qualifying for Sunday's race is on Friday, and on Saturday we have essentially a whole day, which is we have the sprint qualifying session followed by the sprint race. So the sprint qualifying is they've totally changed the format of qualifying as well for some total unknown reason, which is everything has been shortened. So S,
Is
so
it
Q1 up.
sprint?
So I believe Q1 is 12 minutes, Q2 is 10 minutes, and Q3 is 8 minutes.
Well read.
And in qualifying one and qualifying two, they have to use the medium tires, and in qualifying three, they can only use the soft tires. So essentially, they made a bunch of changes to qualifying format that worked totally fine, that no one had any problems with for absolutely for the life of me and for the fathoming of everyone else. No one understands why they've made the changes that they've made.
I
Yeah.
can probably highlight a little bit of light on that. Now, the FP2 session, which was on the former sprint format, was very dull. There wasn't a lot going on in it. I know it's practice, but it was very dull. Um, Formula One wants action as much as they can throughout the weekends. So putting qualifying on the Friday will draw people in. The sprint race was due to draw the people in on a Saturday. This should draw people in for the whole of the Saturday as well. I don't get the point that they're saying, it will give people less ideas on what the tyres are going to do because you're going to a sprint race and you'll do the first into the race anyway. So it's the same situation as before. But the crucial thing, which I think Wajid possibly didn't say, is that the sprint race will not decide the grid.
Sorry, yeah, I missed that bit
Yeah,
out.
so
Sorry.
formerly the sprint race would decide the grid, which a lot of people were against because it doesn't really do anything. I mean, we look at Brazil, Kevin Magnussen took pole, wasn't actually on pole for the Grand Prix. So this will, as Wajid said before, Friday will be a qualifying session as normal on a sprint weekend. Then we'll have another qualifying session for the sprint race, so kind of like F2 style. We'll do the qualifying, then we'll have a sprint race. And then we'll go on to the Grand Prix on Sunday. Now, why it was shortened was to address engine and tyre concerns. I mean, what's 5 minutes going to do? But anyway, apparently 15 minutes going around the track will make a huge difference. Even though I bet you any money in qualifying, you'll see half the teams in the pits for 5 minutes. Is it really going to make things better? I'm not sure because Baku is the wrong place to go and do a sprint race. Because everyone goes, oh, well, it's not to do with the Grand Prix, so everyone will just hell for leather and we'll have cars barrel rolling and chaos. We won't, though, because if they destroy the car on Saturday, it will not be rebuilt in time for Sunday. We've seen it before with qualifying sessions in Monaco, and Baku's walls are harder.
Just max, I think max 2019, is it 2018 spring, 2016 or 2018, the one where it springs to mind where it was him, but everyone had him versus Ricardo at Monaco.
Yeah,
The, Mon- the Monaco Grand Prix I'm referring to is the one where the Red Bulls totally botched the pits from a race that Ricardo was in total control of.
correct. Yeah,
Um, everyone had Max versus Danny for qualifying. Um, no one could get close to Red Bulls. Max binned it in final practice, and they could not rebuild the car in time for qualifying, which meant he started 20th. So just to sort of add on to Dave's point there, that we of a history where we've seen people bin it in qualifying practices and not sorry free practice and not be ready for the race. And let's be honest, people people only give a shit about the big boy prizes, and that's the
yeah,
big points on Sunday. No one cares about the sprint races.
yeah. I mean, the sprint races there's a few extra points, and we know somebody like Max Verstappen will be like, I want the sprint race points or whatever. But if it's between that and finishing a race, yeah, there's a huge difference. But I think there's not a huge amount to cover with Azerbaijan. To be fair, we seem to enjoy going there. It produces decent racing, chaotic racing, but not in a not generally in a manufactured kind of way. It's just quite a tough circuit to get right.
I mean, the castle section is getting to that sort of iconic status because of the castle, because of the
Hmm.
tight and twisty um tight and twisty section, the long straight. It's got sort of everything you. I think in terms of a modern street circuit, it's the perfect blend of everything you want in a street circuit. It's challenging, it's tight and twisty, but there are genuine spots to
Yeah,
overtake. And as you say, it's nothing manufactured. It is all organic racing. It's a race of attrition. It's a race of making sure you keep it clean, keep it, and you have to be on, and you're on the limit at all times. This is why Azerbaijan this is why everyone loves the
yeah,
Azerbaijan street circuit. I mean, to be honest, me personally, I'm yet to hear anything negative about the circuit and the races it produced. Maybe last year was it got slightly redundant towards the
yeah,
end, but generally it's it's a mainstay on most people's calendars. People do when you think of the quote unquote modern circuits that people want to get rid of, Azerbaijan is never on anyone's list.
yeah. It's certainly a questionable one, isn't it? Sorry, not a questionable one. Sergio Perez. You go back to last year; he was leading for the first half of the race and then disappeared for the rest of the season. So it can be a changing point in the season. So we don't make this too long. Um, we will move on to predictions in a minute, but first of all, we got that long straight. It's going to be tough to look past Red Bull, isn't it?
Yep, Red Bull won too. Like
Well, we know his prediction.
unless anything, that might be the sprint race prediction, not the actual race prediction.
Oh, are we doing sprint race as well?
I think we should.
Okay, okay, yeah. No,
Um,
that gives us another three results we can get wrong. Let me
um,
note that in my book. Ready?
the, I want to. Is it still shocking that we've had no reports of the FIA looking at the triple DRS system Red Bull are running?
Um, it's difficult because we've had flexi wings off Red Bull before, and then they didn't really get investigated either. There's got to be something. Look, I think we said, which why it surprises me that it hasn't come out is if we look back to when F1 decided they're going to park cars outside the garage, tell you all the updates, things like that. This is the kind of thing we're going to get told how it worked. This was the openness that F1 wanted to give, and we have no openness on how this works. I mean, before anybody jumps on bandwagon, we're not saying it's illegal. Just it needs, it's such a boost. Let's just, I'm not saying how it works, but let's prove that there's nothing there that is not quite right.
This is the issue, isn't it? Like, it brings back to it has people questioning why the DAS system was outlawed when it was vigorously investigated, or no DAS, no DAS. Why? Like, but we've had nothing on this whole. I want to call it the triple DRS because that's what's being dubbed as, but there's been no comments on this triple DRS system that Red Bull are running, because essentially, even without the flap open, they're somehow generating sort of like DRS levels of speed on the straight, which is why it's referred to as the triple DRS system. So the fact, like, they were so quick to ban the DAS system, like, I think from race 2 it was like they're not going to be on cars from next year, especially with, and we've had this conversation between you and I, especially with the cost cap. Teams can't throw money the way they did, like they could with DAS. If the system is investigated and is legal or not illegal, then no one's going to catch up to Red Bull, because Red Bull is so far ahead. So why does it matter? I want to know the actual technical side of it from the FIA, which is again something they're not doing because the FIA is a cluster.
Yeah. The funny thing is, we keep saying things and we keep getting one word answers from each other because we're literally saying exactly what each other think in the end. We will move on to predictions. Qualifying prediction. We're going to go on to predictions now. I'm just going to put in a bit of a title to it because I might cut it out. But so we're going to move on to predictions for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Wajid, what are your qualifying predictions? So we're talking Friday session.
Max, Checo, Lewis.
Okay, I am going to go Checo, Alonso, Max.
You think that Red Bull's not making it onto the front row?
I've got to try something. Sprint, not sprint qualifying, but sprint race. We won't do sprint qualifying. We'll have too many predictions then.
Max, Checo, Lewis.
You think it'll stay exactly the same?
Yep.
I am going to go for Checo, Alonso, Lewis.
You really have no trust in Max Verstappen this weekend, do you?
I don't know. I've just got this feeling that if he does qualify off the front row, he's going to try and risk everything in the sprint.
Interesting.
Don't know why. Just to assert that dominance, because if Checo turns up, gets pole, and then wins the sprint, is there really going to be any stopping him in the race? We'll move on to the race. Wajid, your predictions for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix?
Lewis, Alonso, George.
I'm just going to add in here. You just said to me that I was taking a risk with Max not being on the front row.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling I know where this is going, so I'm going to keep quiet for now. Because as you all know, we have our extra little bets on the side.
Our wild cards.
Our wild cards. For my race, I'm going to go Max, Checo, Lewis.
It's amazing how much confidence we have in Lewis Hamilton when everyone says he's on
Yeah, I
the
mean
he's
the
on the
amount,
job.
amount of times we picked Lewis this season is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean you've got the confidence he's going to bloody win the thing. So I mean, let's say, just to throw in there before anybody else jumps on it, Lewis Hamilton. I've heard rumours that there's going to be a new Mercedes in Spain or Imola. The one thing that it isn't is that picture that somebody put up with a Mercedes and a plane, because that is a show car from when the rules first come out. I can tell you that now. So just letting you know.
I think they're hoping for Imola, aren't they?
They're hoping for Imola, but then again, this car's starting to work.
Yeah, weirdly.
With a couple of weird tracks coming up. We got Baku, we got Miami. They're quite strange tracks. Wild cards. Wajid, would you like to reveal your first wild card prediction?
A minimum of 3 safety cars in the main race, in the feature race, shall we call it?
Minimum of 3 safety cars. Are we talking VSCs or full?
No, full safety.
Full safety cars.
That's like VSC's a cop out.
To be fair, I thought that was going to be a minimum of 3 red flags. You know, we know what the stewards are like at the moment.
That's true.
Mine's going to be. I'm going to back Matty, who's normally in the chat. I'm going to say points for at least 2 points for Williams.
You've just nicked my second prediction, so I'll change my second.
Oh no, I can go further. I'm willing to go for 4 points.
Well, I was gonna say top 6 finish.
Okay, I'll go at least 2 points.
No, I'll mix it up.
Out.
I'll mix it up.
Okay. Your second one.
I said in Australia, I genuinely think it happens in Abu Dhabi. Red Bulls take each other out.
Like properly take each other out.
Yeah, well, yeah, like
or at least race defining damage. Shall we
let's
say?
Let's go with race defining damage. I'm not expecting Danny Rick, Max Verstappen braking area, both of them fly off. I'm not expecting that, but I'm expecting like race defining damage, like a front wing or something, or a puncture.
Okay, I'm going to go with at least 2 red flags in the race. Now, weirdly enough, I think they might not because of Australia. You know, they might just throw a safety car to go, well, you know, we got criticised for red flags, but yeah, we'll go 2 red flags for the Grand Prix. 2 red flags for the Grand Prix for me. Your third one, Wajid.
Logan Sargent beats Albon.
I think that's perfectly respectable. You know, Logan didn't. The only racetrack he hasn't really done okay on was Australia, where he's never been before. Yeah. He's been to Baku.
No excuses.
I'm going to go for Nikita No, that would be a surprise. Oh, we need something a bit different. Who likes chaotic races? Let's put it out there. Who's in the midfield? I'm going to go. Oh, I was going to go for that, and then I thought no, because that goes completely against my podium. It's a bit pointless, but yeah, let's go for it. Let's go for Alpine top 4. No, top 5. Sorry, an Alpine in the top 5.
Believe, do you? Well, they're gonna be back to the blue livery. Do you think it's the blue livery luck?
No, I was more thinking off the top of my head on whether they're going to hit each other. To be honest, that was more my concern. But no, I'm gonna go for. I think that Alpine will be good enough to. I noticed we haven't. I mean, I've backed Alonso a little bit this weekend, but you haven't got him anywhere.
I just think the Mercs are a clear number 2.
Well, going off our predictions, we will not have a 6th different winner in Baku. I've got. Does it count with a sprint race? I'm not sure.
I don't. I think they've got rid of that stupid rule.
So it will be a race. If any of these drivers win the Grand Prix, Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez, Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, or Daniel Ricciardo for whatever reason, maybe he runs around and he's 21st and everybody else retires, who knows. But if any of them 5 drivers win the Grand Prix in Azerbaijan, they'll be a 2-time winner and the first one. But we have got Alonso, we have got Stroll, who's doing okay in the Aston Martin. We've got George, we've got no Ferraris up there yet. Ferrari never won in Baku. Not that I'm expecting them to this year. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. And Williams, we know Williams is very strong. You know, maybe we'll just see that pop up there.
Especially on long, quick circuits.
Yeah, it likes places like Monza.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is it. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix. The spring break is over and the season is not just starting, it is restarting with 3 rounds gone and the rest of the season to go. I am saying rest of the season because I can't remember how many more we've got because we've got loads.
Well, we 23 races.
Is it 23 overall? Is it? Or?
Yeah. So this is race
4.
Yeah, race 4. Still 20 to go.
Yeah. So we've got 20 to go. We've got this race, Miami, Imola, Monaco, Spain, and Canada, all within about 6 weeks of each other. So we're going to be busy, and we hope that you will join us here on the channel to run through those Grand Prix and the rest of the season. So thank you to Wajid for joining us yet again.
Thank you for having me as always.
Pleasure to have you on. And we will be looking into the Azerbaijan Grand Prix that happens on Sunday at 12 o'clock. We'll be looking at that on Monday. It may not be live, it may be just recorded. So look out on the Twitch for us going live. Please hit that follow button if you haven't already. And if you're on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and the like. And you can hit the notification bell for when a video comes up. But for now, thank you very much. And I think that's everything covered, isn't it?
That is everything covered.
Yeah. YouTube will be catching up very shortly with all the previous stuff we've done. It just takes a bit of time to edit and throw it actually onto the website. So bear with us. But for now, it is goodbye. That's good timing. It's just turned up.
Yeah, I can hear him.
You can hear him?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was told to be quiet, but that's not happening. Yeah, so that was good fun.
That was good. Nice to be back.
Probably do some iRacing now.
Fair enough.
Cool.
I will jump on later. And what are you jumping straight to an iRace now?